In the name of the one whose names are so beautiful, so suitable to begin. Every syllable is for him. Al-Khalaq al-Insan, creator of mankind and jinn. Every noun, verb, and synonym I dedicate to him. He who taught mankind the names of all things, and so to begin, all praises to him. To be or not to be, your being is still for him. For he is one, with no father or son, and the only one worthy of your prostration. He who controls the moon and the sun, every atom, including Adam, may peace be upon. Indeed, the best speech is derived from the Quran and the guidance of Mohammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan, because I came from a prophet who was the best of creation. So let me begin with the greetings the angels gave to him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thought we could do better than that, you know. That was very weak salam. Try it again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, we're going to work on that, inshallah. It's going to get better. It's my honor to be here today to share it in this conference, in this program. And I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses our shuyukh, our organizers, and everyone who spoke before me. Say Ameen. I'm going to give a small presentation. It's going to be in English. I hope everyone's okay with that, inshallah. Does anybody here not speak English? I'm going to have subtitles, inshallah. You're going to follow along. I'm going to start off with a small poem. This poem is called Growing Pains. Those who criticize my generation forget who are the ones who raised us. Produce teenagers who pop in razors, scraping their veins open like erasers. Trying to erase all the pain and shame of delinquent teenagers on call with drugs and alcohol, having a ball while our species is endangered. Because in this day and age, you are nothing but a Facebook page, a retweet of nothing sweet, a selfie inside a cage. Living in a material prison, a 16x9 cell of whatever celebrities on your TV want to sell. Because everybody wants to be somebody, but nobody wants to be themselves. We adore the ones who ignore us and ignore the ones who adore us. We are only Muslim by name so long as immigration won't deport us. I'm sorry, Mr. Politician, I didn't mean to look so different. I know my parents have a funny accent, but I'm just working with what I was given. You see, we moved to these lands to escape from poverty and persecution, but colonization of my nation kind of have the promised lands looking like an illusion. And I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm from, or where I'm going. You see, I wanted to go to school, but the class they put me in is boring. The teacher says that I have special needs and that my grades ain't that important, but they don't know that I could flip trees and buy me a pair of Jordans. And I don't want to play the race card because I ain't even a fan of poker. But every time I visit jails, it looks like the colored people taking over. But as I've grown older, I've realized what's most important. And I don't ask Allah for less tests. I ask Allah for bolder shoulders. Because inside of every tear is a moment most sincere to God. The help of Allah is near. But how near are you to Allah? Because in order to be free, you must escape from the prison of your desires and speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence. Make friends with the Quran because it is a book of guidance. Embody the message of messengers and stand tall like Dawood did to giants. I was looking for faults and so I started in the mirror. And I realized my real homies are those who want to be homies in Jannah. Because though people are complicated, Islam is real simple. You see, Allah gives us so much, but yet we thank Him so little. But now even liberals see my sisters wearing hijabs as criminals. But I see every covered girl as a covered girl. So take cover, girl, and forgive your enemies, but never forget what they have taught you. And know that those who gossip with you will one day gossip about you. They tell me I should rap to the youth, although my poetry is spoken. I tell them my tongue is a loaded gun and I am careful where I point it. Plus I ain't trying to give advice that I ain't acted upon myself. Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to start within themselves. And from what I can tell, the signs are clear, the end of time is near. And behind every wrinkle on the face of our elders lies wisdom beyond our years. If only we would take a moment to attain all that they had made. One generation plants a seed so that the next can receive the shade. People ask me what changed. But wallahi, akhi, nothing really. I just began to see this world as a traveler and I'm moving quickly. On my way inside my grave where everyone will sleep. Cause the angel of death is a celebrity everybody's dying to meet. People say that they are killing time, but really time is just killing you. And your life is nothing more than all the paths and roads that you will choose. But even a man who killed 99 people and repented to Allah was excused. So if you say your heart has grown distant from Allah, then ask yourself who moved. Growing up is painful, but you can't stay small forever. Everybody wants a rainbow, but ain't prepared for bad weather. So never, ever, ever let the devil make you sad at where you are, because only in your darkest hour can you see the brightest stars. Some of the best lessons in my life were learned at the worst times. But I wouldn't change anything except my patience in the divine. Because if Allah brings you to it, then He will bring you through it. Just have patience and pray. Trust me, I'm living proof of it. Jazakallah khair. Specifically for the young people. For the young people who are growing up in this day and age, in 2015. Growing up in a country, in a land that doesn't necessarily love us. Growing up at a time when Islam is being persecuted. When for some people it becomes dangerous to leave their house wearing hijab. For some people they can be attacked on the streets for saying La ilaha illallah. I wrote this poem because, alhamdulillah, amidst all of this chaos, we see that there is something happening. There is an awakening happening around the world. Where people, despite the difficulties involved, are coming back to Islam, alhamdulillah. We see even the situation back home. We see how the Oromoo people finally are getting some momentum. We see that people are sick and tired of being oppressed, sick and tired of being at the bottom of the line. We see even in Addis, subhanAllah, that the Muslims were protesting the treatment of Muslims in that country. And we see that from that part of the world to this part of the world, collectively, so many people are looking at Islam. And they're seeing the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the only true way of life. I've had a chance to visit many places. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me. I've had a chance to travel to many different countries. I visited places in South America. I visited the Muslims in Brazil, subhanAllah. Did you know there's Muslims in Brazil? I visited the Muslims in Mexico. I saw the Muslims in Africa, the Muslims all around the world that are finally realizing that this world is temporary. That for all we invest in this dunya, subhanAllah, our return is so little. Somebody could be a millionaire, makes $1 billion, he goes home and he kills himself. SubhanAllah. What is this dunya for you? But a test. This dunya, wallahi, is nothing but a test that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to take. For some people, they will never be able to say these words, La ilaha illallah. For some people, their hearts have become so hard, so blackened, that to declare that there is no God but Allah would impede upon themselves. So we should consider it an honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this deen easy on our tongues, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought us from Muslim families, from Muslim countries, from Muslim nations, that we should know who is Allah. Because you can never love Allah if you don't know who is Allah. How can you love Allah if you don't know who is Allah? How many of us, we say we love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many of you love Rasulullah? How many of you love Rasulullah? Now I need translator, huh? MashaAllah. You don't know what I'm saying? If we say we love Rasulullah, how many of us, we live a life like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If you truly love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and you see his life as the only way, how many of us have taken our time even just to learn about Islam? Just to spend 1 hour a week in a halaqah, in a class, in a dars, something that will teach you about this deen, teach you about the man that you say that you love. The first commandment sent upon this ummah was what? Iqra. The first commandment Jibreel brought to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Iqra. Read, recite, learn, grow through knowledge. There is no excuse for you and I to be ignorant in 2015, wallahi. You have the internet, you have masajid, you have classes. Some of us, we came from small villages in Oromiyaa, mashallah. You didn't have anyone but one teacher. Now you come here, you have the whole, mashallah, tabarakallah. Any science you want to study within Islam. You have teachers, you have knowledge, you have conferences, you have classes, you have online, you have pal talk, you have everything you want. But still, even though we have so much access to this deen, most of us are still lost. Most of us, wallahi, we are lost. We're living a life like this, walking around in the dark. You would cry, wallahi, you would cry if you visited the jails and you saw how many Oromoo names are locked inside those rooms. How many young people did we lose, subhanAllah? How many young brothers and sisters did we watch leave this world in such a bad state? How many of us, we remember when we came to this country, we had such dreams. People thought this was going to be a great place. And little did we know, subhanAllah, we would lose so many of our young people along the way. So much so that some people amongst us, yes, I know you're here today, mashallah. You're wearing hijab. When the salah goes, you go and you pray. But when you go home and you're by yourself, what type of person are you? That's more important. We don't care if you come here and you pray and you smile with us. When you go home, do you do the same? You pray with us, alhamdulillah. But do you pray when you're at home? Do you pray your salawat? Wallahi, this is a big question. The first thing we're going to be asked about on Yawm al-Qiyamah is what? Your salah. Your salah, your salah, your salah. The first conversation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to have with us on the day of judgment is about our salah, our prayer. The thing that most of us, we can't even do. If somebody told you, subhanAllah, that they were going to give you a job, and for this job, they were going to pay you $5,000 every single day. You had to show up at 5 a.m. Would any of you miss that job? MashaAllah. You wouldn't even leave. You would just spend the whole night there, right? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. But for you to muster up the courage to wake up at 6:30 a.m. and pray 2 rak'ah. Pray 2 rak'ah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not even worth that money. For the dunya, you would sacrifice everything. For the dunya, we would put aside our wealth, we would put aside our family, we would make it happen. But for the akhirah, we say tomorrow, inshallah. But perhaps for you, tomorrow is your akhirah. What have we invested in our lives, subhanAllah? That for many of us, Islam is just a cultural thing. Why are you Muslim? You're Muslim because your parents were Muslim. Why do you pray? Oh, because your father taught you how to pray. Your father said you have to pray. Why do you wear hijab? Because your mother says you have to wear hijab. Why do you do these things? Because somebody told you you have to. But inside of you, if you don't understand and acknowledge that this is a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is only for your own good, then your salah, your hijab, everything else is just for show. It will not benefit you at all on that day. For so many of us, Islam is just a part-time thing. We're part-time Muslims, mashallah. We're not even getting full, we're not even unionized, right? We're just part-time Muslim. Your Islam is just something you do when somebody dies. When somebody dies, okay, let's gather together, let's do the Islamic thing. When somebody's born, mashallah, we become Muslim. When it's Ramadan, mashallah, we become Muslim. Eid, Allahu Akbar, everybody comes out, alhamdulillah. Islam is just on your calendar. Once a week, once a month, once a year. As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists for only one moment of that time. I'm telling you this not because I want you to feel bad. Not because I'm telling you, oh, I'm better than you. You don't know anything. Well, like maybe I'm the worst person in this room. SubhanAllah, only Allah knows. I'm telling you this to remind you and myself that this life is temporary. And for some of our young people, they think to themselves they have time to change. Oh, don't worry, brother, when I get older, inshallah. We became the inshallah general. Brother, you gonna stop smoking? Inshallah. Everything became inshallah. SubhanAllah. We need to take advantage of the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us right now. For many of us, we think that tomorrow is guaranteed. For many of our young people, we think that we're gonna get old. There's a rumor going around. A rumor that some of our young people have become, it's embedded in their minds. They think that you die when you're old. La. You die when it's your time to die. You could be old, you could be young, you could be the first day of your life or the last day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He has assigned for you that time, there is no escaping it. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that every single soul shall taste death, whether you like it or not. And what happens when the angel of death is going to come for you? What are you going to say? Oh, give me 10 minutes. Come back tomorrow, inshallah. La wallah. When the angel of death comes to take your soul, you will have nothing to say at that point. There will be no discussion. There will be no debate. When it is your time to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is your time to return back. But for many of us, we still have this idea that, oh, I still have time. Don't worry, inshallah. Every time I'm going to be 1 month, I'm going to make umrah. When I'm 45, I'm going to make hajj. And then I'm going to get married and then everything. Well, you don't know. How many of you, just a test, subhanAllah. How many of you prayed that salah, that maghrib salah we just prayed? You prayed that salah like it was your last salah. How many of you thought to yourselves, SubhanAllah, maybe this is the last time I'm going to sleep with Allah. Let me make sure it counts. But maybe you were thinking about, oh, my cell phone rang. Oh, where's my kids? Oh, I have to pick up milk. Oh, I have to do this. That's what our salah became. How many of you prayed that salah and you stood up and you thought to yourself, Ya Allah, I'm going to see you soon. Make this count. The Salaf, they used to tell us to live our lives like it was our last day upon this earth. To make ibadah, to worship Allah Azza wa Jal like you have no more time left.